damn, it's the AM2R crew. We're back with the long-awaited episode. My name is Larry. I am the bearded Nordic Velvet Wonder Beast. Here with our fine sound technician, Eddie V, the Chocolate Thunder, Wonder from Down Under. I'm just going to call you like a Nestle Wonder Ball because we just open up your head and there's a toy inside.
Oh, I love playing Contra. Hey, everybody. I get to take a break this episode. Yay, I'm so good.
Joining us, some of the fine crew behind the game that I have not shut up about for the last time. And we have Milton Dr. M64.
Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me.
And Steve Sabra 230 with us.
Hello, I'm glad to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy for this right now. I love this. Welcome,
I was
guys.
just receive a standing ovation and I didn't. I feel discriminated.
Oh.
I'm not going to lie, one of the treasure gems of my game collection is actually I've got a beautiful physical copy of AM2R from Mr. Wizardry Productions.
Oh, nice.
So, I think he made about 6 of them. I got the last one. So, but in any case...
Oh, I remember seeing something about that in the Facebook. I was hoping to get my very own copy, but I have a bunch of developer copies laying on my hard drive, so I can't complain too much.
So, the last physical copy is in captivity.
Exactly. But it's mighty pretty. He put some beautiful work into that. But it kind of pales in comparison to the beautiful, beautiful work that you guys did.
Oh, yes.
Oh, shucks.
Like, you guys, this game is beautiful. Like, this game feels like Nintendo made it. Like I couldn't believe the effort and the hard work you guys put into this game, and I was just like, wow, they are on a whole new level. Like you wouldn't be able to tell this game if it was Nintendo. I mean, the way I was looking at it, I was just like, this is kind of fast than even Super Metroid itself. So I kind of wonder how that happened. We'll get into all of that later. I'm not trying to take the host spot or anything with questions just yet. But I'm so happy that this game was made. I'm happy that this game came out, and just want to congratulate you guys on fantastic work that you guys did. But go ahead. You guys are welcome. This is just, I'm so happy because you guys just don't know. I get to nerd out when I talk to developers and journalists, because this is like, I don't want to say once in a lifetime, but all the years that I've been writing my own blogs and doing podcasts and talking to different people, it's cool to actually talk to people who are actually doing work on video games or work in the industry that, like for a better term, got paid for it or not, but have actually got their hands in it and put in all the hard work and effort and just to talk to them, to be like, wow, I'm the one that just stays home and play video games and blogs. You guys, you actually got the computers and the engines and the graphics, and you put everything together. You put like the design and stuff. Like you actually put the work for me to enjoy it. So it's good to talk to you guys like that.
Well, thank you. It's awesome. We also take quite a lot of time to actually play games. The inspiration and the references need to come from somewhere, and getting to know the Metroid universe by actually playing it and not just watching videos and people talking about it is it's a nice investment in time also. I was very lucky to discover the entire Metroid franchise by just researching for this project. Back when I did start, I haven't even finished Super Metroid, and that's pretty much the best 2D platformer in the history.
Well, speaking of best ever, but before we go real deep, now that you're here, we can officially bestow upon you. I know Steve was aware that you guys won our very first ever prestigious Game of the Year Golden Warp Pipe Award.
Awesome.
You were voted
Wow.
our Game of the Year.
Wow, that's awesome.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And on a personal note, not just Game of the Year for me, but the original Metroid 2 was very, very near and dear to me, and it long held a place in my heart as my all-time favorite game for very odd and quirky reasons that I'm pretty sure most everybody else hated it for. It was dethroned in August when you guys came around and finally released this.
Well, this is just another point of view of the same event, both story-wise, graphics-wise, and gameplay-wise. So I'm pretty sure that you have very nostalgic moments on several places while playing my little game, and getting the approval of people that has Metroid 2 in a special place in their hearts is the most important award I could ever have, in my humble opinion.
Yeah,
There
because
was really nothing little about this. This was an immense undertaking, as I recall reading. This was about an 8-year passion project, was it not?
I think it was about 10.
yeah, I heard 10.
Pretty much about them, yeah. The project became public about 8 years ago, but before that I had been working quite a lot on the base engine, the base movement, all the abilities, pretty much the basic bare bones structure that you need for a Metroid game to feel kind of Metroidy and not just some random platformer with Metroid graphics.
Now,
So,
what made you settle on tackling Metroid 2?
it was playing Zero Mission. I really did enjoy Zero Mission on my GBA, and after that I went to play the next game on the series, and I kind of felt strange. I didn't it didn't age well in my opinion. So I have prior experiences remaking old games with new mechanics. There were a couple of fighting games made with the Mugen engine and small unfinished projects, and tackling a very old Game Boy game felt easy enough, and I was so wrong.
Well, I know with Metroid 2, because I never beat the original Metroid, and when Metroid 2 came out to the Game Boy, because I didn't beat the first one, I told myself I can't get Metroid 2 till I actually beat the original one. But then you mentioned Zero Mission, and that's one of the best Metroid games for me. I love Super Metroid. I love Metroid Prime, Other M, and everything. But I when Zero Mission came out day one, I brought it, and I was just like, this is the game. This is what Metroid, a new version of Metroid, is all about. So to hear you say that you got inspiration from that, I'm just inside so happy, like smiling, because that game, like, you talking about a remake, they went in and remade that whole game. And I wouldn't know Nintendo to do anything like that. Like, I think that, to me personally, I think that was the first remake that I know that company ever to do.
They did a damn good job with it too.
Yes.
And it's as good of a job they did with it, honestly. I think you guys put them to shame. I think you put more into bringing AM2R, bringing Metroid 2 up to snuff than Nintendo did with bringing the original up to snuff with Zero Mission. I mean, there really was so much little nuance in there that showed the love and care that went into it. Everything from little idle animations to the detail of the lore that nestled so nicely into the series without disrupting anything else around it was spectacular.
Yes, at a certain point I did realize that Metroid fans are extremely volatile, extremely passionate, and they really know exactly what they want. So my project started shifting from a very casual remake of a Game Boy game into making a proper Metroid game and treating the series with respect regarding the gameplay, the contents, and the whole story, and what pieces of story I was going to be showing on the game. That became a priority pretty much on day one. So right from the get-go, there were not going to be any space pirates or anything that would mess up the continuity of the universe. And that was, we just ran with that. Whenever a new team member would show up contributing to a project, wherever he was going to be contributing, he had to follow these guidelines and, most importantly, have fun doing whatever they did.
Well, let's go. After playing Metroid 2, did you guys map everything out and be like, okay, this is where we need to start at? Like the things that you needed to improve, or the things that you wanted to improve. Like, where did you guys start at when you finished the original Metroid 2?
Well, the first thing I started researching on how to do, I had no idea how to do, was the map system. That was something that I thought was essential for the original game. I did print out a map to complete the game myself using my Super Game Boy. Mm-hmm. But yes, whatever I was going to do, it was going to be having a map. And from that point on, I just started refining whatever I had to match more or less the physics of Zero Mission.
Now, out of curiosity, I know, Milton, the project started with you. Steve, how did you end up getting roped into this?
I didn't end up starting until about 5 years after the project had been public. So around 2011, around the fall there, I was still going to college for digital design. And I discovered this project when he announced it on his website. He put up the first blog post, and I'm looking at it. And I said, oh, cool, someone's actually working on a Metroid remake that's actually promising. At the time, I was following Blast from the Past, Metroid Prime 2D.
Okay.
And I thought there was a lot of promise behind that. It's really cool, and I liked the idea, but it was so slow moving, and nothing was really happening with it for years. You know, you'd get a small update probably every few months for a little bit of extra stuff they added in, and eventually it died out. But I noticed on Dr. M64's webpage that he had been making a lot of progress. He already had the engine pretty well built, and all he needed to really do was add in the different rooms and some of the enemies, and I mean, you got a fully functional game. And at the time, the scope was a lot thinner. You know, he wasn't looking to make it as ambitious as it ended up being. And so when he released Metroid Confrontation, it was modular, so you could add in your own graphics, your own music. You could change pretty much everything except for the actual design of the engine and the rooms. So at one point, there was another person, his name evades me right now, but he made a Zero Mission sprite that looked like it was ripped from Super Metroid. And it was really cool. Like, you had Samus that looked like she was from Super, but she was in all of her Zero Mission poses, and it was really neat. So I thought, well, there's no Various suit and there's no Gravity suit. Eventually, you're going to need those if you want to use that suit for the full game. So I ended up working on the Various suit first and rebuilding it from the ground up, and then I did the Gravity suit from there. And it ended up being really popular. Everybody used it and downloaded it, and I decided from there to remake the Power suit, and that turned out to be really popular too. So after everybody's using all these sprites for confrontation, Dr. M64 wrote me a letter and asked me if I would be okay with him using my sprites for the final game. And I said, oh, definitely. Of course, please do. Because that means that someone's using my work, my art for their video game, for their project. That's amazing to me. That's all I've ever wanted. So not too long after that, he starts contacting me for little things that he could use. And eventually he added me as part of the team full time.
Oh, nice.
Now, speaking of artwork and sprites and everything else, I've talked with a number of people about the project, and they're like, it looks like Zero Mission, it looks like Fusion, and I for me, at a glance, they're right, but when I look at it closer, so much of it actually smacks of actually being built from the ground up. How much was, ripped and reused assets out of Fusion and Zero Mission versus how much of this was done from scratch?
Well, at first it was a lot. Then when most of the later areas started to have custom mechanics and new things and new places, things started to be a little bit more, custom. And Steve had made some pretty awesome tile sets, environments, and plenty of little things here and there that make the game feel less sprite rip-off-ish. For example, the entire new area, the water area, those entire tile sets, all the backgrounds, pretty much everything that you get to see there, that was made by Mr. Saber here. And it was a nice challenge to do something that's not a remake, and that particular area, level design wise, took about 3 full revisions, making the entire place from scratch. I kept adding new things, and they just didn't work. But all in all, the entire place feels like something new, something that even if the entire rest of the game feels like something familiar, people that approach this new place was always intrigued. And the new original music done by Mr. Falkul, a very awesome composer and long-time fan of the project, made the entire place feel much more unique. That would be the extreme, and the rest of the game is littered with small details here and there that they are following a new guideline regarding color palettes, shading style, and other minor details. But for example, the first assignment that I got from Mr. Saber here was the door system that appears on the tower basement. When you get to go to the power rooms and do the entire sequence, those destroyed doors that appear there, those are the first official contributions for AM2R by Mr. Saber.
It's weird when you talking about like the sprites and that you use. While looking at it, it reminds me of Contra Rebirth on the Wii, and a little bit of what's the Neo Geo shooter? 2D
Metal Slug.
Metal Slug. Like the sprite base almost looks like that, and seeing it in motion, you just be like, wow. I'm like, this could be almost close to an arcade game in a way.
Yeah, I'd certainly like to have the amount of animation frames that Metal Slug has, but
no joke.
Yeah, the art style goes more or less towards that.
I will say, speaking of music you mentioned, The music that was done for this was fantastic. The first, the original was almost nearly devoid of anything music-wise, and actually that was one of the little quirks of the game that I actually liked, because so much of it felt very cavernous and stark and eerie in the fact that most times all you were really hearing were, their representation of things just kind of creeping and crawling in the background of these caves that you could really even barely see the back of, because it was subterranean, unlit, and dark. And that was, for me, something that I liked about that came as a result of the limitation of the system. And truth be told, it was part of the reason I was actually a little hesitant to sink into AM2R, because, those are quirks of the game that I loved. And, going into AM2R, those are things that kind of fell away, but in its place came something so spectacular in its stead, this very lush, filled out and realized environment. To see, the caverns of SR388, not just as caverns, but as something that was once inhabited. There was a civilization and a culture there. In particular, dear Lord, the background for the final area before you go into the Queen, the temples and the waterfall in the background were just gorgeous. To actually, see light shed on what was not there before was spectacular.
Well, thank you, sir. There's a little bit of a trade-off here, because what you just mentioned, it's not quirks. It's more or less like features defined by the limitations of the hardware, and then they end up conveying quite a lot of tension, uncertainty. Not knowing what lies beyond the edges of the screen is really unsettling, and I don't have that anymore in this game. I have to pretty much play a lot more with what the intended emotion for the players is going to be. We have a much more detailed environment, but having to convey the possibility of hidden Metroids being lurking around is a little bit more difficult, having to rely on just throwing off the players with a couple of jump scares on the beginning, and then letting the player know that that could happen at any moment, even if it doesn't. Should try to do that instead. But it's a little bit more lively, and the tension is much more localized in certain places, the breeding grounds for each one of the main areas. But that's
especially when you turn the lighting down.
Yes, that one. That one was actually uncomfortable to test. I actually, most of the time when I was actually testing out the Metroid battles or some tire sets or mechanics or whatever, I just turn off the lighting engine, just set everything to really bright and try it out. Otherwise, it was so tense. I just
give yourself a jump scare.
Yeah.
But
that episode with the first Gamma.
But that works.
Mr.
That works for Metroid. Even if when you look at Metroid Fusion, and the other Metroid is chasing you with stuff, it's that tension. Even though you're being adventurous, you just don't know what's next.
There's one particular episode that I just mentioned that Mr. Sever was one of the very few people that at the time was able to try out the new Gamma Metroids back in the day. And I was sending him maybe 1 or 2 builds a week just for him to try out new things, help me out with the back testing and stuff, beside the people that were dedicated to testing. And in one of the updates, without telling him, I actually added the Gamma Metroid as a surprise encounter. And, I could hear the cursing from this guy from Argentina that night.
Wow.
And it was so good. I was so happy when it happened.
After you finished screaming like a little girl.
Yes, of course.
Gammas, that was one of the things that floored me when I played this for the first time, was, not just that, the gammas and the alphas acted pretty much exactly like they did in the original. They're flying things, and the gamma has the lightning. But suddenly now the gamma has more to it in the respect that, it'll grab you up with those little feet. And it's the first time that you really get the first glimpse of this love and care in the detail, where Samus is tossed to the ground, lands on her back, and you hear that metal just thunk on the floor. And that was spectacular.
Yes.
I was literally floored. I'm like, the hell? Did I just see what I think I saw? That was amazing.
Well, that's
and eventually skilled players will learn how to avoid being at the mercy of another follow-up attack after landing on the floor, because Milton was able to add in a feature that we always try to avoid the character being stun locked, because that's one of the worst feelings you can get, is not being able to fight back.
Yeah.
So Milton ended up adding in an ability called, I believe it was Ukemi.
That's right.
And so that you can essentially catch your fall. So if you press the jump button just before you hit the ground, Samus would catch her fall and leap back into action, so you could avoid the follow-up attacks.
That's kind of
Really?
like Streets of Rage 2. When the enemies throw you, you press up and jump, and you land on your feet.
Yes,
Exactly.
it's one of those secret techniques that Metroid games have, but they are not documented anywhere, not even in the manual. And this ended up being a little bit tricky to actually pull off consistently. It's there, but it's really not reliable unless you practice that quite a lot, or you pull it off by accident.
I
It
did
sounds
practice.
like one of those things that's very, very frame perfect.
Well, you have to press the jump button, about half a second before you hit the ground, so it's not that intuitive. And it's also the reason why it doesn't come up accidentally, but just mashing buttons randomly.
Right on. Continuing on from some of the new stuff that the Gammas were doing, the Z from the original, and I'm curious, how you got to where they ended up, coming from the original, where they were just, bigger damage sponges that did a little more and were a little faster than the alphas and the gammas.
Well, having them being just hovering enemies on the original made them feel way too light. Like they felt like balloons that followed you all the time, and it made them feel, a little bit cheap. So if this creature were to exist in real life, it needs to have proper weight, and if it's going to be weight, there's going to be a loss of the flight ability they do have. And making these creatures bipedal and ground-based made them feel more like standard mini-boss. So I treated them just like that. I had to redesign some of the rooms so they actually were able to fight on the ground with some overhead space, so you can actually jump over them. And animating them and making the all of the movement feel not so clunky and not so mechanical was quite a challenge. I actually had to make a separate project, game maker project for those specific assets, and all the animation engine was done from scratch on those separate projects. And I was actually there with just a blank screen and simulating what the animations and actions were going to be before inserting them into the real game. That way the compilations were a little bit faster, and it was easier to go back and forth between the game running and the code editing. So it was quite a lot of work, but by the time I was making the Omega animation, most of the base poses and skeletal data was reused from the Zetas, just with the bigger proportions. And since I was sharing some of that data, I was able to actually make the entire morphing animation very easily, since the position of the head, the legs, and the arms is fairly similar. So it's just separate parts of the creature that are being animated in separate order, and that way you have the illusion of a huge, very complex animation playing out when you get to see the first Omega.
I gotta ask. When Samus is shooting her regular firepower, I was looking at it and it kind of reminds me of Super Turrican. Did you guys like? How did you decide to change up her shots, like the animation? Like, how did you guys, made it look different?
You're talking about the beam projectile sprite work?
Yes.
I can't remember. That was one of the very first things I did. Whenever I started adding the shooting mechanics back in the old age, I just selected a couple of sprites from somewhere. They were ripped from several places. I think one of them is from one of the Ice Beam variations, comes from one of the later Mega Man games, but the rest I actually can't remember. It was ages ago.
Oh wow!
I wanted something that felt powerful and different to what you get to see on the Metroid era. Zero Mission beams, only the charge beam looks powerful. Super Metroid, the beams are extremely tiny, even if they have some particle effects and they do pack quite a bunch. The graphical representation was a little bit humble, so I wanted to make something that felt powerful.
Okay, because I was just like, I would love these guys to do like a 2D Contra or a 2D like shoot 'em up. Because I like you guys got everything so right to do that, and you see it in AM2R. Just like, man, everything about this game they got right, and you just kind of wonder like this had to take time for them to the trial and error. The playtest, like they had to do a lot to get it right, and then I'm seeing it, and I'm just like, I want a Contra game. I want like something like Arrow Flash, like R-Type or something like coming from these guys.
Something like Guns N' Heroes, maybe?
Yes. Oh, if you make a Gunstar Heroes, I would love you forever.
Actually, I've gone on record saying on numerous occasions that honestly, I think the best thing I would love to see from you guys is I would love for Nintendo to pick up AM2R, give it an official release, let me play it on the big screen, retitle it into something like Assault on SR388, feels about right, and then set you guys off on working on Dread finally. I would love to see where you take the story from where it's been left for over a decade now.
Well, whatever we do, just remind us not to make Samus into a whiny bitch.
Oh, right.
Holy hell. Which, and I do think Other M gets a bad rap. Yes, the story was atrocious, the voice acting was god-awful, but honestly, I actually really enjoyed the gameplay. It felt kind of like a collection of best of bits from throughout this series, getting things like Nightmare and Phantom and the Queen all wrapped up into the single game was fantastic. That was one of the things that got me super giddy was Other M was the first time that the Queen had been seen since the original Game Boy.
Yeah, they beat me to it. It was a nice game, actually, gameplay-wise. It's a very well-designed game. It's very solid. If it wasn't so linear and if the cutscenes were actually skippable, it would be quite a lot better.
Yeah, I've kind of been in the mindset that game's great as long as you hit the mute button.
You know what? I was fine with the voice acting. I love the action. I think I look at it as a different perspective because if you don't know Tecmo, Tecmo Kobe now, if you don't know them for the problems they have with camera from Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden 2, and that difficulty they dealt with, I feel like when they work with Nintendo to make Other M, it made them want to make games better. And I know they have a good relationship now because Hyrule Warriors, which is perfect for me. I love that game. And just seeing Other M where people was just upset about all of this and all of that. And I was just like, first of all, they got the action right, which I love. They got things that you really complain about. When you hear Tecmo Kobe, you think of difficulty and bad camera. okay, the voice acting, it is what it is. But I'm like, but this is the first for, I think, for Samus. And, it was a new avenue that them trying to explore. It didn't work well for them for some people. For me, it was fine. I mean, I heard terrible voice acting in better games. And you would just be like, shut up because you're annoying. Like this, I didn't feel too annoyed about it.
Well, the voice acting was actually decent. The voice direction and the script was the culprit in this case. I was actually able to contact Jessica Miller, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
That should be the voice actress that played Samus. And she was a very nice person. Actually, I was offering her if she wanted to contribute with AM2R to be the voice of Samus for the ending. And she was contractually not permitted, not allowed for legal reasons to contribute in any Metro-related project. The acting was actually decent.
Yeah, the edit was fine. Now speaking of Nintendo, were you? I think we have to get to the DMCA takedown. But before we get into that, when like the game was finally announced and people were downloading and stuff, like how did you guys feel? Like you were like just getting recognized in that game, like in the media.
It felt so good, knowing that there was recognition over something that we put so much effort into, so much love, that we completely, without any other how do I describe it? We took everything we had, all of our heart, soul, all the love for this series, and we put it into this game. And to see people recognize that and call it one of the greats. I've seen people compare it with Super Metroid. I've seen people call it their absolute favorite Metroid game so far. And god damn it, if that isn't humbling. It feels so good to read that, and for people to love something that we have put so much effort into. It's so flattering. I can't. It's really hard to put into words how it feels. It's amazing.
You're just like speechless when all the media coverage was placing on it, and people were talking about it, being like in Kotaku, Polygon, Jeremy Parrish talking about it. Just like a whole bunch of people, like getting the word out, but like you guys need to download this game. Like the discovery had to be like just huge.
It was really awesome. A couple of years ago, something similar had happened. At one point, when the project became public, it was kind of popular. It did appear on a couple of sites. There were a couple of interviews, reviews, and stuff. But that's it. It wasn't that. It didn't have the huge scale that this release had. It was actually not prepared for something like that. I was thinking it was going to be flying under the radar because this is not a Pokemon fan game. This is a niche market for a very specific kind of fan, and I actually was not ready for the reaction that people had on the release.
Well, I think timing may have had something to do with that too, because at the time that this project was started, we were coming off of actually having some games in the series releasing, Corruption and Other M, even as poorly as Other M was received, there was at least something, and primarily for the last 6-7 years, there's been almost no life in this series, save for this past summer's Federation Force debacle, which truth be told, I haven't finished, and I'm bad at me, but
I haven't even played it.
I picked it up, and then AM2R happened at the same time, and I looked at Federation Force and went, fuck you, don't care. There's the game I need to play. So I think that the fans in the community we're in a vastly different mindset, desperate and starving for something, when this came out versus when it started.
Yeah.
Yes, things were very, very different back then. And it was supposed to be something much more little, humble. It was going to be just one more fun game. And one personal project for me to actually learn how to program properly. And that was it. The actual date of release was chosen, so it could be something else besides whatever Nintendo was going to be doing for the 30th anniversary. Turned out to be the only thing, but that was a surprise also.
Well, let's get into the nitty gritty, the sad part of it. You guys getting hit.
Oh, that's my favorite part.
You guys getting hit with the DMCA.
I gotta ask, the takedown happened about a week after it officially went public. 1.1 got released at least in order to fix the gravity suit issue. And then the takedown was out there. It was confirmed, legitimized, validated, all that. And, you guys complied, and I got to say, as sad as I was to see it happen, I thought, especially Milton, what you said was an extremely classy thing, just in the fact that, we kind of expected this, and, don't bitch at Nintendo for doing their job and protecting their property. Show them that we want this. Go buy the game.
Mm-hmm.
That was my thought, and I still think the same. Things are much different now. This might be my fault. This game should have been completed 4 or 5 years ago. Things in life made it that got delays here and there all the time. I never gave up, but in result, the game is being released in a world that's very different than it was supposed to be. Metroid 2 wasn't sold on the eShop. There was no eShop at all a couple of years ago. And I was just remaking a forgotten game, and that's it. There's plenty of fun works out there, ROM hacks, and stuff made by very talented people that's not being touched at all by the respective copyright owners. And that was just that was what I intended for AM2R, just a small project for myself to learn and to entertain fans that were wanting to play some legitimate Metroid experience, and that was it. It was a little bit shocking to see how fast it all came out. It was like a roller coaster. If there was any legal action that was going to be happening, and that was a possibility that was being contemplated, I thought it was going to be taking much more time, but it was a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, I think when your passion project gets noticed too well, and it comes into the media, I think the people who own it will be looking at like, oh, someone made a game that we didn't make. Oh, let's find these and get it taken down because we don't want this affecting our brand. And I think that was probably one of the reasons that it just got too popular so quick. It was a 2D Metroid game that felt like Super Metroid, and for us retro heads, you got the two things locked down for us: Metroid, 2D, and it feels like Super Metroid. Those three things that we hear of, that we read, bam, we now want to play it. We want to own it, and we want to check it out. And I think, and it's sad to say that you guys got taken down, because you guys, like I said, you put so much work in this passion project. Just like it deserves to be rewarded, and rewarded in the way that you guys need to be complimented on the work that you guys put in, because you didn't slapdash a project together. You guys took the time. You guys did the trial and error. You play test. You laughed. You went through some ups and downs, and you got the experience of game development. And to see that all go away just like that, it has to be kind of, to me, it's heartbreaking, because I wish that you guys the game was still available, and I'm not saying do other avenues, but I wish the game was still available. You guys didn't get taken down, and like people will just realize that this is how you do a fan game. Like you guys are the blueprint of how to do a fan game well.
Well, thank you, sir. I have to humbly disagree, sir. This is not that much of a tragedy, and it's not that abrupt that people is not able to play it anymore. This hasn't disappeared from the world. People has it. Mm-hmm. People are sharing it. If you are skilled enough by using Google, you can actually find a copy of AM2R, the latest version.
So second or third result, it is up there.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
I have checked myself.
So people are playing it.
It's like anything with the internet. Once it's out there, it exists forever.
Yes,
exactly.
I'm not able to actually update it. That's quite of a shame. There's plenty of things I actually wanted to include, but people are playing it, and people are going to continue playing it. The distribution might not be official, and the quantity of people playing in the future might not be what it should be if it was official, but it is there. It is available for the fans. People that are hardcore fans of the franchise have already played it, and that's what matters. And for me, it was a learning project, and it fulfilled its purpose. I don't know about you, Mr. Saber. How do you feel about this?
I think at the absolute very least, it was a learning experience. The work is still out there. It's still available. The biggest thing that honestly hurts me about it is that we can't update it to add the finished things that we wanted to into it. There was still a few things for 1.2 that we had planned, a couple finishing touches here and there, and ultimately we wanted to have everything in the game so that all of the old reused assets from the older games were completely replaced from the ground up with custom things that we had created, so that at that point we were no longer using anybody else's artwork and it was all completely our own. But that's in the past now. So what it is now at this point is a learning experience. We don't want to be making enemies with Nintendo because there's a chance that we may want to work with them in the future. We don't know yet.
Which brings up another issue, question, thing I want to touch point here. There has been some naysayers on the project in terms of the fact that they were not fans of the fact that it happened in the first place, and just said why rip off or redo somebody else's game or their property versus making something original of their own, and which leads to not only that question, but I think the follow-up question is, could this not continue to exist and be reskinned in something that is not somebody else's IP?
In theory, it could. In practice, it would be a pain in the ass.
I don't doubt that it would be a pain in the ass, but I definitively think it deserves to be out there in the world in a legitimately playable fashion, and potentially in a fashion where you guys can get paid for the work, no less.
Now, the amount of work that we need to put into this project, if we were talking about some reskinning of sorts, it would require production of new graphical assets, replacing them, changing some of the level layouts, making new enemies, or just disguise the ones that we already have. And that amount of work could be pretty much used better if we were to work on something original. After all, it is going to be a reskin version of AM2R at the end of the day. If we were to put those hours of effort, those pixels that are drawn into something new, we would be having the beginning of something new, and that would be a little bit more unique,
Now, have you guys ever thought of hoping in the future from learning this experience and with your new game, whatever you guys are working on, have you ever thought we really want to go into not full video game production, but look at green steamlight. Like, have you guys thought about any of that for the future, for any of your projects, or just like anything that you do? You feel like a small indie game, like the test run. Did you guys look at the green steamlight or anything?
Well,
I love the twice you
yeah.
said that backwards. You said green Steenlight.
Oh, steam green light. I'm sorry. Make that the title, green steam light.
That's a nice title for a video game.
Oh,
Or at least
Game
some
about,
new song.
trying to eliminate all the crap off of Steam's store.
yeah.
Good luck.
It's quite a feat.
No offense, Valve. I love you.
Because I would love to see you guys work with Unity and see what you guys could do with that engine. Like, if you ever got a chance, or better yet, should I say, what engine that you guys would love to work with? Would it be like Unreal 4, something Nintendo engine, something from SquareSoft or Square Enix? Like, what engine would you guys will just be your ultimate, like, this is the one that I want to work with?
I have no clue. Right now, we are both making a little bit of research. But I'm actually trying to play plenty of games I have forgotten. They're on my backlog. But yeah, I'm trying to gather ideas to make something unique. Like you just mentioned, Steam and many other markets are pretty much flooded with 2D platformers, Metroidvania wannabes, and if I am going to be making something original, it will have to bring at least a couple of new ideas, or be extremely excellent in at least one aspect. So
Can you bring back a beat 'em up? I want a 2D beat 'em up so bad. I missed that from the 90s. Like, I would love for that to come back.
something like a platformer, or something like Double Dragon or Street of Rage.
That's like Double Dragon Streets of Rage. Like, give me
Bring me new Battletoads.
oh
Ooh, that would be pretty epic.
That would be fun.
oh a Battletoad. Oh yes, I'm so happy right now. Oh, because
It should also be YouTuber friendly. People raging at the monitors because the game is insanely hard.
yeah.
Isn't Rare working on a Battletoads right now?
No,
I thought I heard a little bit of rumors about that.
They
The last thing I heard about Battletoads was Shovel Knight
Shovel
on
Knight.
Xbox One got some Battletoads content, and I think that was about it.
Oh yes, that was awesome.
Wasn't there a character in the new Killer Instinct also from Battletoads?
Yes, there was. I think it was. Was it Zit or was it Rash that
And,
you could play as in the new
Yeah,
Killer
that's
Instinct?
right.
I think it's Zitz. I think.
It definitely wasn't Pimple.
Oh, you know what? I've never got
I think it was Rash.
I've never got
I think it
their
was
name.
Rash.
One of the new ones.
I think in the first game it was Rash and Zitz, and
Yeah.
then in the second game it was Rash and Pimple, and you had to save Zitz or something along those lines. I don't quite remember. It's been a long time.
Was that Super Battletoads?
I believe so.
Yep.
Because let's see, there's Battletoads, Super Battletoads. There was Battletoads, the arcade game. I don't know how EA produced that.
There was Double Dragon.
Battletoads and Double Dragon. And I think that was the last one.
I heard that one was all right.
It was.
I cheated and beat it with the Game Genie. I just couldn't. That game was.
So couple of questions I'd love to hit on with you guys. First off, given that you guys have absolutely demonstrated a comprehensive, knowledge and respect for the lore of the series, and one of the favorite things that I adore about what you did with AM2R is the way that you actually you more competently tied Fusion back to Metroid 2 than Fusion did by itself, by including the likes of Cirrus in this, where the BSL station was populated with creatures from the planet, and Sirius was never in the original, but somehow is supposed to have been a creature that was on the on SR-388. But like I said, given the comprehensive knowledge and love of this series, where would you guys like to see the series go from here if we ever eventually get a follow-up to Fusion?
Well, Fusion is a pretty awesome game, and the turn of the story of Samus going kind of rogue opens up plenty of possibilities. And having some sort of storyline that goes through Samus' intent of redemption against the Galactic Federation that's pretty much surely going to be chasing her. It sounds like an interesting story, but I really can't imagine how that could be fit into a Metroidvania game or a Metroid game at all, like, with the classical power-up gathering structure. I'm pretty sure that whatever they do, if they are going to be following that obvious story, they are going to be making something a little bit more traditional and cinematic. Who knows?
I actually did have an idea on that a while back. For before AM2R came out, I thought it might be fun to dabble with the idea of possibly pursuing a spin-off story based on the events that came after Fusion. Whereas my thought process was, since you have Samus she's essentially gone rogue, she's going to be hunted down. And what better way to hunt a bounty hunter down than with another bounty hunter? And, the first thought that would come to a lot of people's minds is, why not hire Silex? Well, the problem with that being is that he does not get along with the Galactic Federation. That wouldn't make any sense. I thought it would be fun to introduce a new bounty hunter, also a female, just to make things fun, because that's how our Metroid universe works. Our main character is female. And she would be tasked with hunting down a rogue Samus and seeing it from her perspective, while she tries to hunt down this legendary bounty hunter that she's only heard stories about, that she's essentially scared of. And I didn't think of it much past that, but I thought it could be a lot of fun to essentially demonize our Samus Aran and kind of see her mean side. And then eventually, as the game progresses, you start to see her for who she really is and see this heroic, badass woman figure, and start to see the story come full circle, and then your character doesn't know whose side to fight for.
I still want to see Samus Aran before she became a bounty hunter, when she got rescued, and how they trained her. So I would like to see her as a kid, and then catch up a few years after she gets infused after fusion, and somehow Mother Brain comes back. And
should be the movie. This is what the movie should do, because this does not sound like it would play well, but it sounds like something that would be a good watch.
I'm down for a Metroid anime.
And the movie rights floated around for years before I think they just vanished into thin air again.
I think Other M showed them that they have a hard time understanding how to make a good movie out of it.
Yeah, no kidding.
But there was that fan movie that they made for Metroid.
Yeah, but
and we know how that goes.
Oh, actually, people liked it. It was really good.
But apparently, Nintendo didn't like it.
I don't even think Nintendo saw it.
I believe that movie got a takedown notice as well. But I believe the reasoning for that was because they were taking donations to put this movie together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they probably ran into about as much trouble, if not more, as Prelude to Axanar. For any Trekkie nerds out there, that was a spectacular fan project that was coming together that ran into all sorts of legal problems, but that had more to do with the fact that figuring out where the rights for the Star Trek series went was a complete debacle, because the movie rights went one way and the TV rights went another way. And
wasn't it like CBS, between CBS and...
Yeah, CBS got the TV rights and Paramount got the film rights.
Wow.
Two can't intermingle at all anymore. So
that's kind of bogus.
It's very bizarre. It's an
You have to
interesting
name
read if you
your,
ever wanna,
you have to make your name of the project Star Trek, the series, the film, or the Star Trek, the series, the movie, or something like that, to know who the rights come from. Maybe.
Well, I mean, because...
I wonder if we could get Patrick Stewart on board with that.
Oh, good luck with that. I'll watch it. Trust me, I'll watch it in a heartbeat.
Watch about anything that man does. He's great. And for the record, if you haven't checked out one of his latest offerings, Blunt Talk, watch it. It's hysterical.
I need to watch it.
I don't think I've heard of that one. I'll need to watch it.
I believe it's a Starz production, and it's freaking awesome.
Well, I have to ask you guys, when did you start gaming? Like, when did you start playing video games?
Start creating or start playing?
Start playing. Like, was like NES your first console, Sega Master System, Genesis, Super Nintendo, TurboGrafx? I'm going far back because I'm kind of telling my age of all the systems that I somewhat own.
Well, I started with the Super Nintendo back when the PlayStation had been out for a year or two. I think it was back in '94, and I started. My dad got me a Super Nintendo when I was just a little kid. And he got me 2 games. And I remember these games really well. He got me The Lion King, which was tough as nails. Never beat it. And then he got me the Power Rangers Fighting Edition, which, my opinion, that still holds up. That game is fun. I still love that game.
That's not the beat. That's the 2-player beat 'em up one? Or no?
Yeah, it's not a beat 'em up. It's a fighting game where you've got like 4 Zords to choose from, and then you have 4 of the main bad guys. You had Goldar, Lip Sync. I can't remember his name. It was Silver something or other. And then there was Goldar.
Oh, wow.
And, oh, man, Goldar was awesome. He was my favorite.
What about you, Milton?
Just a big old flying dude with a sword. It was great.
Oh, my goodness.
Go ahead.
What about you, Milton? Where did you start? What was your first console? How did you get into video games?
Mine was the Atari 2600.
Yeah.
It was... I feel a little bit old, but... if it serves any consolation, it wasn't the wooden grain one. It was the junior model, the black plastic one.
Yes.
And it was awesome because even if you are playing a video game and you are actually making stuff with mechanics and rules and watching the TV after the images come to life, you still have to use your imagination. And that was pretty cool. One of my favorite games at that time, it was, these kind of things were pretty expensive, and it was very common to rent games at the VHS rent stores. But my all-time favorite was Pitfall 2. Very awesome game, very advanced.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Because I've never heard anyone say that. That's awesome.
After that, Commodore 64, awesome machine. Later, Commodore Amiga, very awesome machine. Super NES, and after that, I was pretty much a teenager stalking women.
Wait, what? That came out of nowhere.
I was a teenager interested in social life, I guess.
Okay.
Stalking's such a harsh word. We prefer aggressively following.
Yes.
That's what Facebook is for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is a thing about the language. There's very few describe this kind of behavior that doesn't sound like I'm being some sort of pervert or something. In Spanish, it makes most sense.
We like to call it stealth.
Well, you know what, pervert or not, you made my now all-time favorite game hands down. So, anything you want to do, I'll let you get away with at this point. You get one free pass for anything.
That's good to know.
So, where did you guys go from here now?
I have no idea.
I mean, personally, for me, I want to keep making games. It's what I've always wanted to do. I want to be able to get to the point where I can move away from my day job. I can move to something more or less part-time and spend more time focusing on creating these games, these worlds that I can bring to people. And I absolutely want to continue to work with Milton. I think in the last 5 years, he's become probably one of my closest, if not my closest friends, just from being able to work on this project with him.
Oh.
The feeling is mutual, so it's really awesome to actually have some creative project in common and being on the same page almost always. Whenever I was coming up with some idea for some boss battle or some new enemy, we were on the same page, and he was pretty much finishing my sentences because we were imagining the same thing. And that kind of experience could be pretty awesome from now on, because we are much more experienced. We have a pretty awesome game under our belt, and whatever we do, it's going to be polished, awesome, and it's going to be looking fine. When that's going to be and how much time it's going to be taking, right now I have no clue.
Would you ever like to visit the Japanese video game culture and like get into it, like, you know, like their Street Fighter games, or for some people hentai games? I don't know why, but would you ever like to visit that culture of video games?
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to go to this last AGDQ because I'm hearing so many good things about it. I wanted to go to PAX. I want to go to what was that one? MagFest.
I want to go to
MagFest. I want to be able to visit
too.
these places. See, these are really cool. I want to go there, but work.
Yeah.
I'm actually aiming to try and get out to PAX West this year. So, if you happen to be out that way, would like to set something up. I've got a nice copy of AM2R that could do with some signatures on it.
Yay.
Well, I live about 40 minutes south of Seattle.
Oh, I want to be out there.
Pretty close.
I know who I'm visiting.
Okay, can I? Larry, I'm coming with
you. Me, let's make it happen.
Larry, I'm coming with you because I want to visit Seattle. I want to visit it so bad.
Well,
it's pretty.
As soon as tickets are up for that thing, we need to get on top of it.
Yeah.
So,
what about you, Milton? Would you like to visit like Japan or different video game cultures? Would you ever like to visit?
Well, it's really difficult to actually. I'm actually usually very realistic about these things. Mm-hmm. You get to see all the awesomeness that those events have, but I actually don't plan because it's tickets are insanely expensive from here in Argentina, and the exchange rate isn't helping at all. And right now I'm making the most of my family. All the time that I didn't spend with them, right now I'm making the most to be there for my little girl and my girlfriend. And that's pretty much my priorities. I see that those events are awesome. It would be awesome to attend to any of them, but I don't daydream anymore on attending to them. Maybe if someday I visit the US, we could go and get some beers, but it's not my main priority right now.
Okay.
If you come this way, aim for the Midwest. We're right there. Like Eddie and I are about 2 hours apart.
Exactly.
All right.
Oh, you guys are close.
Yeah.
So,
he has some of the favorite restaurants I love going to now.
So, for me personally, when I'm showing somebody AM2R and why they need to play this, a favorite moment for me that shines is an example of just how spectacular it is, in scale and scope, but also in the fine detail. I show them a snippet of the Queen fight right in that last room where the queen snaps out and grabs Samus, and just for that half a second, you can see her holding the queen's mouth open, like fighting to hold the jaw open. And it's just this phenomenal little detail that was not there before. And, that stands out as a big favorite moment for me. I'm curious for you guys, what's one of your favorite standout moments from AM2R?
Well,
That's a good question.
for me, it would be the GFS thoughts. The hidden area. That would be the research vessel that it's on the surface.
Yep.
That place felt like a playground for all of us. All of the artists that contributed on the project did a little bit of it, and I pretty much gave them creative liberty to do anything within reasonable bounds. So both Saber and a couple of other artists made plenty of assets for the inside of the ship with all the details that they want, and made it look like an actual place. I just made around that an actual level and a nice place, and that's about it. It felt like an expression of whatever we wanted to show to the world. It's not mechanically interesting, and that boss fight that you get to see there, those sprites were done by Mr. Saber here. And that boss fight was pretty much coded in one night, pretty much.
Whoa.
It was pretty much
I
improvised.
got knocked out pretty quick.
Yeah, it's a little bit predictable once you get the pattern, but it's a place where we get to show off a little bit of everything, and it looks nice also.
The environment was so much fun to create in that area because we got to finally do something entirely new. We didn't have any prerequisites we had to deal with from the other areas and themes that we had to follow. This one, we got to pursue that dark corridor and that horror kind of theme that we really wanted to pursue in all these other areas. We could pursue it in full in this one small enclosed environment, and it felt really good to create. And there's no enemies except for the one. It's nothing but silence and ambient music in the background, and then you see all this research, all these things that have been already confirmed in the other games, and we were able to kind of bring it all together in this one spot and really flesh that out and hopefully give the player a sense of uneasiness that we wanted to give them throughout the rest of the game as well. We never wanted the player to feel totally comfortable in their environment, nor should they.
No, especially in a Metroid game, you absolutely should not. It's supposed to feel alone, alien, and oppressive.
Exactly.
It was quite a challenge because by the time Samus get there, she's already pretty powerful. She's got power bombs, super missiles, quite a lot of mobility. So if we were going to be adding minor enemies, they would be just very disposable. So whatever was lurking there and was being the cause of all the destruction that you see there, and you later see the logbook entry that says that there's still a thing on board. It should get the player's imagination racing at least for a little bit. They still are quite empowered, but whatever threat is around the corner should be at least a little bit menacing.
There was something that we played with a little bit when we were bringing that area to fruition. We figured by the point that the player was able to get to this area, they would have power bombs, so they would already be pretty OP by this point. And we wanted to have a little bit of control over what the character would have in their inventory when they got to this area.
Yes. That one, yes.
So we thought about creating a security room before you could enter this ship. And when you enter the security room, you'd have to stand on a pedestal, and it would strip you of all of your gadgets and all of your heavy weaponry, so that all you would have are your beam, your morph ball, maybe a missile tank or two. so that when you're traveling through this environment, you feel very underpowered. You feel very weak. And there's one creature that you see stalking you through the vents while you're exploring this area and learning what happened to this crew. And then you finally get to that last room and try to leave. The door locks, and you have to fight that creature with very, very minimum equipment.
Oh, that's the beginning of Super Metroid. Just right there, getting locked in that room and just be like, what in the world? Because Super Metroid is very cinematic at times. And that's what I love about that game. And this is what I kind of love about AM2R, that it has a cinematic feel at times. Like you just don't expect anything, but when it happens and you look at it, you just be like, oh, wow. What in the world am I about to get into? And it's just such a good feeling.
We actually did try to not to overdo it. It's very easy to go on with unskippable cutscenes that take forever, and whatever cutscenes that we were including, they need to be quick and snappy, and then return the control to the player. And so whatever story we were telling about the environment, it should be just restricted to that, or very, very short cutscenes. At one point, there was also plans for a similar sequence. Once you complete the basement and you do the entire escape sequence and whatever, you get caught by the explosion. And in a similar way, similar to the first Prime, you get some of your equipment damaged. So you pretty much have to return to the surface with limited abilities. That turns out to be a little bit of a problem, because the mobility and just having to work without the mobility you got so far was a little bit annoying. It wasn't fun, but it was one idea that was on the table at some point.
Right on. I will say too, just touching on the Federation ship on the surface there, I think parts of that harkened for me back to one of my favorite parts of Echoes, actually, was the very eerie beginning of Echoes, seeing all the dead Federation troopers laying around and finding out what happened to them. I think you guys kind of channeled that very, very well there.
Yes, that ship is actually modeled from that particular place. It's one of the ships on the Echoes that you get to see docked in there. That's the overall design, and it was included to give this entire Federation thing a little bit of coherence between the games. So there's not much that's known about the Federation. But the little that there is, including what the categories of the ships are, or many small details, I try to respect that.
I do want to go on the record to say that it's kind of unfortunate that the Galactic Federation ships, their design slightly resembles a penis.
Wow.
I know I'm not the only one that thought that when I got to that point in the game and you see the big ship in the background and you're thinking to yourself, I know what that looks like.
Have you seen a ship that's more manly than that? It's on purpose. It's used to penetrate defenses.
Well, that's a manly ship.
Full of dick.
Be like, oh my goodness, that's a big dick in the bag. You'd be like, wait, what?
But that's the original design that they went with, so I might as well follow suit. I've seen Alien.
Well, it can't be no worse than Ring Kings, so. Oh, Milton, Milton, if you ever get a chance, there's a game called Ring Kings, and the boxes in that game have a breakout section. And when you see that video, you'll understand why anything can't be worse than that.
What about genital jousting? I've heard that was a good one.
I used to actually play that because I've heard tell that it's way better than it has any actual right to be for a game of inserting a penis into a penis butt.
Oh wow!
So
it looks like a good party game. I wouldn't mind giving it a shot.
So
that's what she said.
If I may, because I know we don't want to keep you guys any longer than you have. Any final thoughts? Anything you guys would like to touch on that hasn't really been put out there since the release and takedown of AM2R? Is there anything that you'd want the public to know?
Well, so far that we are extremely thankful for your time and for dedicating the time to actually enjoy the game and trusting that fans can do stuff that could entertain as much as the official Nintendo games. And we are honored by all of this praise and attention. At least I am. Thank you.
Yeah, seeing all the attention and praise that the game has gotten, and seeing how people really feel about this series, and knowing that there's still so much love for it, it's amazing, and we want to see more come out of that. If there's one thing I could say, it's that out of everything that happened, I wish that any representative, anybody from Nintendo would have shot us an email, given us a phone call, just talk to us, face to face. I'm not going to defend the game. I'm not going to try and fight for it to stay on the internet. I would just want to talk about it. Talk about the love that went into it, and have a genuine conversation about the game itself, and maybe try to, I don't know, come to an understanding. Well, and that, for me, that was all I wanted. But I know I can't expect that.
Well, that's more of Japan than America, and that I think that would have been hard. I would love to see that happen with you guys, but yeah,
it's nothing I'll personally ever expect. But if one day I get a phone call from somebody who even works at NOAA and just wants to talk about the game off the record, I would love that. To just talk about something that we're both passionate about.
Yeah. I might know the right person for you to talk to, actually. I've got somebody on my friends list on Facebook.
Really?
Yeah. I'll bring it up with you after we stop recording.
I'm cool with that.
Actually, Eddie's not allowed to know about this either, because this is part of a surprise that I'm hoping to get hashed out for Eddie.
Aww.
Yeah, he won't tell me. He said he has a surprise, and
I've already told you.
It's gonna be good,
huh?
That I've already told you now more than you knew before. So
yeah, but you didn't tell me who it was.
I know, but before this, you didn't know that they work for Nintendo either.
If it's Chad Caselmo, then I already know.
But in any case, I want to thank you guys both so much for sparing an hour and a half of your time with us and letting me gush like a little schoolgirl with the people that made my all-time favorite game.
Thank you for spending that time with us and letting us talk about it with you.
Yeah,
I don't see it being dethroned anytime in the near future. So
you guys are always welcome back.
You
guys
absolutely. In your coming ventures, whatever it happens to be, we would love to help you get the word out and have you guys come on and gush a little more about whatever your future endeavors are.
That would be awesome.
Can I ask you guys one last question that's not video game related? If that's fine.
Yeah.
What is your favorite cereal?
For me,
my
favorite cereal. My favorite cereal has always been Frosted Shredded Mini Wheats.
Really? What?
I love my Wheaties. I have always loved my Wheaties.
What?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Slice in a couple bananas, maybe some strawberries if I'm feeling squirrely.
I'm thinking of like Trix or Cookie Crisp or Cocoa Puffs. And Milton, what about you? Your favorite cereal?
We certainly don't have the variety and eccentricity that you guys have. We only have the one that has a tiger and the one that has the big bird, and I'm really not that much of a consumer of cereal, just massive amounts of coffee.
Okay, what's your favorite coffee?
Ooh, That's a good one.
Well, coffee and flavor.
No, just a plain old regular instant coffee. If it has caffeine, that's enough for me. I'm a pretty simple guy regarding breakfast. If we talk about lunch or any other recipes, I'm pretty much more well versed in cooking.
Yeah, okay. Then
That's it. A new Cooking Mama game coming from Milton and Steve confirmed, right?
We could make cooking Papa.
Oh,
There
you
you
know,
go.
The sequel to Cooking Mama,
I'm
the
telling you
Cooking
right
Doctor.
now. I'm telling you right now, Milton. If you make that day one download, day one purchase, I don't know how I can
Just wait for
send.
the DLC.
Right, I don't know how I can send $10 to you. I don't know if you're gonna make a GoFundMe account, but you will see some money in your account for this game.
Well, thank you, sir. We will let you know when we start with the pre-orders.
Yes. Larry, what is your favorite cereal?
I like old people cereal. I like Cracklin' Oat Bran. Shut the hell up.
Oh, no, that's pretty good, actually. I'm cool with that. Put in a little bit of honey and you're good.
Yeah.
Just give me my Honey Nut Cheerios. That's mine. I love that.
I'll give you some nuts covered in honey. Shut up.
I'm going to talk to you after the show when I get a chance.
And this is why we told you guys don't worry about anything you say on here. Trust me, anything goes.
Oh, Milton, can I ask you? I'm sorry. Did you guys ever have an arcade there? And where you at in Argentina?
On the 80s, yes, that was pretty common. I was actually going when I was 4 or 5 years old with my dad, and I did enjoy quite a lot of Wonder Boy, Bubble Bubble, Outrun. Those kind of games are classics, and I hold a special place in my heart for them.
I'm sending you an Internet USA hug right now because you just said about some of my favorite games from the arcade.
Then, by the time that Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat became popular, they kind of faded out. And nowadays, you only see some places with DDR machines here and there, and not that much. It's not something that's popular. Besides a couple of malls and big places like that.
Yeah, I know here close to Chicago, we have a place called Galloping Ghost. It's like you pay $15, you can spend all day playing free arcade games. Like they go from Killer Instinct, Ikaruga.
Sounds
like
a blast.
Oh, they may take PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3 games and the systems and make arcade cabinets, so you can play like Street Fighter 4.
What?
Yeah, you could play Castle Crashers. Like they even make some of their own games, and they got like the whole completion of like all NES stuff. So you get to play the original Mario Brothers that only have 300 seconds, and then that's the end of your game playing time. I miss arcades, and since you live in Argentina, or I was wondering how the arcade life was there.
Well, I actually miss them too. Nowadays, there's a couple of places you can go and find a couple of old arcades, but for the most part, you get to see Daytona machines and some shooting games, and that's about it. Wow. But back in the 80s and the 90s, it was something pretty big.
Well, right on. We want to thank you guys for your time and joining us here on the show. I know you guys said you haven't listened to much of any of the rest of our show, but probably right about now, once I post-edit this, your music from Hydro Station should be taking us out. So, guys, if there's anything you want to plug, do it now. Here's your shot.
There's a barcade in downtown Tacoma, Washington that I like to go to called Dorky's. You can get tacos and all sorts of different bar food. You can get beer, and you can buy a whole shitload of quarters and just get drunk and play arcade games all day.
Come on, Larry.
9 o'clock, there's no minors.
Larry, we need air tickets right now. We need to find it.
We will see you
Love
at
that
PAX
place.
West. Milton,
Well,
Also, buy Axiom Verge. It's amazing.
Yes.
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 Tom Happ is an incredible man, and I have so much respect for him.
Completely agree with this guy. If you ever need to escape from some ex-wife or whatever and need to leave to South America, feel free to visit Argentina. It's pretty awesome in some places, and could be a nice opportunity to buy you guys a beer or two.
Yay!
Eddie, plug your shit. Let's close it out.
You guys can find this podcast on soundengine.com, our new home.
Shout engine.
Shouts Engine. Would I say Sound Engine?
Yeah.
Okay. There's different reasons why. Shoutengine.com. That's for our new home for this podcast. You guys can email world11podcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at world1_1 podcast on Twitter. I do my own podcast called Optional Opinion at the anonymousradionetwork.podbean.com, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play. Just last week I talked about the Nintendo Switch presentation with my good friend Todd Oxtra for Secret Friends United. And it's called The Good, the Bad, and the Eye Roll. So we talk about what we like, what we're interested in, and then we just can't believe that they did. And also me and Larry check out the last episode of World 101 where Larry's at GameStop getting ready to pre-order the Switch, and we talk about the Nintendo presentation there. I write on IGN.com for my blog for Optional Opinion under Anime, ENIME. This week I am doing a feature, so be ready for that. I'll be talking about Barbie games, Monster High games, girl games, and why they are made, why they're in this industry, and why we as gamers, older gamers, don't play them, or why they're quick gift games for girls. So I'll be exploring that. I have a series called The Moment at SkirmishFrost.com where I talk about old retro games and how they apply to my life. I know I do a lot of stuff. I'm on Team Nerd also, where I do Podcast Connected, and I'm on DNA, where I also do writing, and I do Power Block with that. So I'm available. I do a lot of podcasting and a lot of writing for video games. You can follow me on Twitter at ThatRetroCode. You can also check out my series Let's Learn on Twitch at the Lyrical One, capital D-A, capital L-Y-R-I-C-A-L, the number 1, where I take a game, I play it, but I also talk about that genre and actually how to play that genre of game. So do check that out. That will be coming back soon. I be talking about horror games once I get Resident Evil 7. So do watch out for that. And I think that's all for me.
You do quite a lot.
Yes, yes.
Man, I should have made a list. How am I going to compete with that?
Well, you guys made a video game that outdoes everything that I kind of do.
You're doing like a whole bunch of stuff on top of that, and I feel, I don't know, I can't feel, make me look lazy. Come on, man.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. These are actually working. What are we doing here?
I got a short list to wrap with. Find us out on Facebook, World 101 Podcast, all spelled out, all one word. You'll also find you can join the conversation on our forums page on Facebook as well. Do us a favor, go out, hit the like button, get our content in your feed. New episodes in your earballs every Monday. That's it for us. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much, Milton, Dr. M64, and Steve Saber 230 from AM2R for joining us this week. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Anytime.
And with that, everybody, we are out.
All right. Later.
Oof.